Inside Obstacle News. Today on episode 15, we welcome Joe DeSena, CEO of Spartan Race, creator of the Death Race, and now author of Spartan UP. Welcome to Inside Obstacle News. I'm your host, Joel Getty, and with me is the man, the founder of Spartan Race, Joe DeSena.
The myth, the legend.
The legend. Awesome. Well, great to have you on the show. I've bumped into you number of times at races and things like that, and it's always a pleasure. So one of the big reasons why I had you on the show today is you've got this book coming out. So tell me a little bit about your book and what it's all about.
So the book really started 15, 20 years ago with this concept of this life philosophy I'd just been playing around with in my head from the time I was a kid. And I think back now that I have children, why do I have this philosophy of to make things tougher on myself or those around me? And I don't know what it comes from. I mean, I grew up in a really tough neighborhood in Queens where a lot of people ended up in jail or dead. And tough from an organized crime perspective, not tough from you didn't walk outside and get beat up. But everybody did discuss this idea of could you do the time when I was a kid. And so maybe that was something that got planted in my head. Maybe it was my parents used to fight a lot, so maybe it was something from there. I don't know what it was, but I would always test myself. Like, I'm going to take cold showers. I'm not anybody could take a hot shower, but could you take a cold shower every day, right? Anybody could put the air conditioner on. I literally would play these games with myself from a very young age. I mean, 10, 12. And so I had this concept for, is it a better way to live? And if it is, how do I pass it on? And so playing around with that concept in my head for 20 years, when the opportunity came up out of the blue to do a book, it was already written in my head. And all I had to do was weave in a few Spartan stories to the message, but at the core, the message is maybe easier, better, faster, and cheaper is not actually better for us.
Yeah.
So that's it at the core.
Yeah, absolutely. I've enjoyed reading the book so far. I'm about 2/3 of the way through it. I just got a copy like 3 days ago.
Oh, good.
But I mean, it's a really good interlaced kind of story of the philosophy, plus some extra of your background. So we won't go tons into your background. You got to read the book, audience.
That's right.
If you want to know more about Joe himself. But no, I mean, even the very beginning gripping story about the race in the snow and like being trapped on cliffs and in the ice and it's very compelling. So it's really neat to kind of hear some of those stories and know you've really lived it and that you really are 100% on this philosophy that you put out there. And so, when's the book coming out?
So May 15th is the day, and we're calling all Spartans because, make no bones about it, we want to be a bestseller. And apparently to be a bestseller, we've never done a book before, we need to really crush it between now and May 15th. So now if that sounds like it's a late night TV commercial and really a money grab from our perspective, hopefully, who knows if people will be happy or unhappy with this, but you don't really make a lot of money with the book. The publisher invests in it and they make the money. But for us, we cast a wider net for a bigger platform. We get to talk to more people about this idea that you got to get off the couch and you got to start sweating and you got to get healthier. And, I was down in Atlanta, Georgia this weekend. And from our perspective here, certainly from my perspective, doing emails every day is not exactly living the Spartan life. And that's what I do. I can't even believe I'm drinking a coffee today because I don't ever drink coffee and it's rare, but
a quick side note on coffee. I hit you up to the Bulletproof Executive Did he convert you into drinking his coffee?
Not yet, but I'm sure I'm going to talk to him maybe tomorrow. In the next few days, I have an interview with him, and I guess I'm going to have to whip up some buttered coffee to make sure him and I are on the same page, and that my synapses are firing at the same level. But my point was, here I am doing non-Spartan lifestyle myself. Go down to Atlanta, Georgia. Had to be a couple of 100, 300 people came up, wanted photos, asked you to sign an autograph. It's pretty humbling, pretty unbelievable, and so it buys you more time. So that's really why we want the book to be successful. Is if in fact all the people that are coming up and asking for autographs and hugging you and taking pictures with you, if their stories are in fact true, which is, hey, I lost 150 pounds. I had one guy come up to me and say, I just want to thank you. Changed my life. Well, I want to go deeper now. How did I change your life? I was drinking and drugged up for 20 years until the first Spartan race I did. I have not touched anything. You changed my life. And so when you hear that, it's like, how do we get this book into 20 million hands, right? Because that really is happening. There's no greater thing to do while you're on this planet if that's really happening. So.
Now, would you say the book, in terms of audience, or you're touching on these 20 million people and kind of changing the paradigm in American, nutrition and delayed gratification and things like that. So, would you say the book is kind of aimed at those people who really need to change, or?
Well, I've never. I mean, listen. The 1%ers, we call them, right? The people that actually sign up for our death race, they're internally motivated. By and large, they're eating healthy. They've got their heads screwed on straight, although the rest of the population might think their heads are screwed on the wrong way. They don't really need the book as much as the rest of the population. And it's not the book, it's the philosophy inside the book, right? You can get that from other books as well, or movies, or friends, or coaches. But I would say by and large, the population needs motivation. How do I know that? I mean, we have 3.5 million Facebook followers. They email me, they reach out to me and say, how do you stay motivated? How do you do it? How do I eat? How do I do this? And so the answers are right here. The $64 million question is, are you going to read the book and then follow? There's no shortcut.
Yeah.
You just got to put in the time. You got to abstain from instant gratification. If you do that, you win. If you don't, you get what you always got.
Yeah, it definitely, like I said, I haven't quite finished it yet, but just from what I've read so far, it definitely hits that kind of Spartan mode of operating, kind of the whole philosophy. But also, there's enough kind of like cool little personal stories about yourself that you get to kind of get to know you a little bit more. You get to know your family a little bit. I'm a family man myself, so I think it definitely makes people kind of identify with you, because a lot of times, you seem like this, Spartan-y kind of stoic guy that, is a great leader, but some people might be like, whoa, he's way too tough and hardcore for me. But it's really cool. I had a similar story with my wife where, we kind of, once we knew, like we pulled the trigger right away. And I thought it was really neat, with your wife, that you just kind of like, love at first sight, like, I'm going to marry this woman, and then just went for it.
I don't like to waste any time in life. Like, it's so short as it is. It's an awesome planet, but we're here for a very short time. So I just want to get stuff done, get it marked off the list, and move on.
Awesome. So, another one of the things I wanted to bring up, you touched on death races and things like that. Tell me a little bit about the traveling death race that you guys just came back from in Mexico.
I could, but then we'd have to kill you.
Oh no. There's like a movie coming out or something?
It was, we have a video coming out that's going to blow people away, but I'll give you a little teaser. How's that?
Yeah.
So, death racers don't know where the race is being held until a short period before the race. They will end up down in Mexico City. They get on a bus and they start heading north from Mexico City, only to be stopped a few hours later by police and be put into cattle carriers. So if you can envision where they put a bull in or cattle, it's just a steel cage that just fits the bull, so it can't really move around much. So 6 racers got in each one. The gates got locked shut, and they were driven to an undisclosed ranch. And let's just say, because I want to release the video without people knowing what's coming, it was a eye-opening, hair-standing start of a race.
Now, were people, you get stopped by the police in Mexico, and, I mean, were people like, oh, yeah, this is part of the death race, or were they like, I'm being arrested and drug dealers are going to, mafia and like...
They had no idea what was coming, and I don't think there was a minute that went by in that race where they knew what was coming next, and it was brutal.
That's awesome. And were there any kind of locals that really stood out that surprised you, or was it a lot of U.S.-based people that traveled?
There was a female from Mexico City who was amazing. She took first place as a female. Without getting into detail, I mean, she could have arguably be considered the #1 racer in in the whole field, men and women. But there was a slight issue there. So she's the #1 female, and we have a #1 male.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Another topic I wanted to touch on, if we still have some time, is team racing. I know you guys kind of rolled it out recently, and then again in Georgia. But tell me a little bit about the team racing and where you think that's going.
So at the end of the day, I think human beings are naturally driven and motivated by competition. If you think about when you're working out next to somebody, you work out a lot harder. Think about sports in general, how popular they are, right? People like to compete. And that's not just individually, although I think that's the bulk of it. Teams also like to compete. The question for us is, how do we do it in an authentic way that fits our brand and have the technology behind it where we can execute it flawlessly? And so I would say we're 3 to 6 months away from having everything buttoned up so that we're executing team racing in a way that the Spartan population is going to love. Right now we're messing around with some fun different things. We're randomly putting people on teams that they don't know who their teammates are, and so we're having some fun there and just seeing what kind of market reaction we get. But there's some really, really cool stuff coming.
Absolutely. From a fan of the sport, I can tell you, I was recently at this other unnamed race in Florida that had a very short format where you got to see everything going on and the teams were racing around. And as a proof of concept, it was fantastic. I mean, very exciting, and just being able to see everything, a lot like a stadium race, like, being able to see a lot more of the race going on. And so that was very cool. So, if Spartan ever moves that way, or even just with the team racing piece, definitely cool for spectators. So I'm glad that's coming. I think everybody's looking forward to it.
Yeah, I think it's just the next step in our development.
Awesome. So let's see. I'm trying to think while I've got you on the line. We kind of touched on a lot of the major things. I was going to ask, Alicia Keys at the Georgia race this last weekend. How cool was that?
So the coolest thing about it is, and this is going to sound selfish on my part, was my wife's always had this dream of being like a singer, and so I'm down at the race, and everybody's got to stay away from Alicia. You want to give her a space. She wants to feel like just like everybody else and get out there and do the race and not be attacked by a bunch of people that want signatures and autographs and pictures and so forth. So I tried to not overstep my bounds. But when the opportunity arose, I said, Alicia, you'd make my life if you'd call my wife. And when she picks up, just start singing. This girl is on fire, and she did it. And
that's so cool.
So I'm set for life. I never have to buy another Christmas gift or Valentine's gift or anything. I'm done.
Yeah. Speaking of that, what I've found is the Pandora bracelets are a great gift. You get the bracelet, and then every birthday, Valentine's Day, Christmas, you get another little charm. Add that on there. Just a little, throw that out there to you. But Alicia Keys, no, that is really cool. How did she like the course?
She loved it. I walked her up the course at the end, and she wanted to do the kids race with her kids and stuff. And she said it was unbelievable. She said, and much tougher for her than she had done a marathon, and was just super impressed with the whole thing and the people, and blown away when she passed Todd Love or Michael Mills. Here she was down and broken with her friends and thinking, gee, I can't take another step. And then you see some of those guys out on the course, and it's an eye-opener.
Yeah, that's one of the most awesome parts about Spartan racing, and just getting out there and being inspired. I know, what's his name? He was in the death race.
Michael Mills?
No, he was, team death race in Vermont.
I know who he's. Yeah, I know he's got a titanium leg.
Yeah, I think his name's Noah.
We were in the middle of that team death race, and a rock rolled down the mountain, and it actually knocked his titanium leg out from under him, and he went down. And he goes, "Oh, thank God it was that leg."
Yeah, you wouldn't want to lose the other one. No, I mean, I remember passing to him on the Beast course, and I was like, okay, so you've been at this for a couple of days, and now you're out here doing the Ultra Beast course. And I was like, it's a major inspiration, and it keeps you moving, and it's
all frame of reference, right?
Yeah, totally. And that, I mean, you go into that in the book, and looking at frame of reference, and looking at, okay, my internet is out for the weekend, and I use my internet for my job, and it really sucks to not have internet. But when you think about, I might not have food or water or shelter, there's so much that you can kind of take from that and apply it to your life. So
think about, cool. I was telling somebody recently, I said, in the old days, just 150 years ago, it would be like, all right, everybody, family, pack up, get in the horse and buggy. We're leaving in an hour, right? And along the way, Grandma died, and 2 babies were born, and one of those died. We got attacked by a bear, shot at, somebody stole our goods. And we get to California, and we see our cousins. They don't say, oh, my God, you're so tough. It's just a normal day.
Yeah.
We just traveled for 3 years and went through that.
Yeah, it's I live in Amish Country in the middle of Pennsylvania, not too far from Penn State. But, literally, if I go out for a run or a ride, I'll see more buggies than I do, cars. And what's funny is a lot of these little Amish kids run around barefoot, and they're just walking to school barefoot, and it could be, 40 degrees. They do put the shoes on when it gets into the snow, but, they're tough, and they're real quiet and kind. And, I think our society is definitely missing that kind of simple frame of reference.
That's right.
So, it's cool. I'm working on my garden, Yeah.
Amish are pretty healthy. I mean, they eat whole foods. They, I've done some studies on the Amish, and they're amazingly healthy. And I think, we touch diet a bit in the book, and at the end of the day, man-made processed foods, stay away.
Oh yeah, it's the more you know about how bad it is, like, the more cringeworthy it gets. Just digging into it, and hiding little things in the ingredients, like evaporated cane juice. It's sugar. Just call it sugar. There should be laws against calling it stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I know you touch on that in the book as well. So it's it's definitely a great resource, a great story, kind of getting to know you and your background a little bit better. And I like the pool analogy you made in your TED talk, and then kind of dug into it a little more in the book. So that was very cool.
Cool. Thanks for having me.
Well, no problem. I appreciate you coming on the show, and I'm sure we'll be in touch some more. I'm hoping to see you again in New York at Citi Field. And we'll see
Major America. That's what I'm going to call you.
Major America. All right. Sounds good.
All right. I'll see you.
All right. Take it easy. Thanks again, Joe.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for watching Inside Obstacle News. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and check out some of my other awesome clips, training tips, and interviews.